Hello and a very warm welcome to all. You're watching News9 Special. I'm Neha Bhan. Top focus this hour is the critical situation in Jammu and Kashmir. There's been a spike in terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. We bring you the latest. A soldier was injured during an exchange of fire with terrorists near an army camp in Manjakot area of Rajouri district in Jammu and Kashmir on Sunday. According to sources, one army personnel was injured when terrorists opened fire on a security post in a village in Rajouri district of Jammu and Kashmir early on Sunday. The terrorists there fired on a sentry post of Territorial Army at village Galuthi in Manjakot area around 4 p.m. The soldiers at the post retaliated. Now, this exchange of fire continued for nearly half an hour between the two sides. The terrorists managed to flee into the nearby forest. A massive search operation has been launched to trace the gunmen. The early morning attack comes a day after two terror strikes claimed the lives of two jawans in Kulgam districts. Viewers, I'm going to give you a very important update here that 8 terrorists were also neutralized and their 2 soldiers unfortunately lost their lives in different encounters in Kulgam district on Saturday. The encounters took place in Frisal Chinnigam and Modergam areas of the South Kashmir district. The officials said that they detected the presence of terrorists during a cordon and search operation which led to exchange of fire. Inspector General of Police Kashmir, V.K. Bhardi, who monitored the encounter site, said that the operation will continue. On the 26th of June, security personnel engaged in a gunfight with 3 terrorists in Doda district and killed them. The encounter took place after the forces surrounded a hideout where 4 terrorists were hiding. 3 of them were neutralized. Here now, Jammu and Kashmir has faced terrorism for decades and security forces are constantly working to end it. In June, numerous such operations were carried out. About 10 days ago, viewers, security forces killed 3 Pakistani terrorists in Doda, recovering a large quantity of weapons and ammunition, including 2 M4 and 1 AK-47 rifle. On the 11th of June, terrorists attacked a police post in Chatargala, Doda, injuring 6 security personnel. Earlier, a terrorist was killed by security forces in Bandipora. Now, major terrorist attacks also took place in Riyasi, Kathua and Doda in the month of June. On the 9th of June, 9 pilgrims were killed and 7 security personnel were injured in an attack in Riyasi. A CRPF jawan was also martyred while security forces in fact, CRPF jawan was also killed, while security forces killed 2 terrorists in Kathua. Jammu and Kashmir's Director General of Police, R.R. Swain, has also reacted to it earlier today. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
ये एक बहुत बड़ा माइलस्टोन है, बहुत बड़ा प्रोग्रेस है। सिक्योरिटी एनवायरनमेंट में मजबूती लाने के लिए ये सक्सेसेस बहुत मायने रखते हैं और एक सब्सटेंटिव तौर पे भी और एक मैसेजिंग के तौर पे भी ये इस चीज की इंडिकेशन है कि सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर की और लोगों का बढ़ चढ़कर इसमें ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस की जो फ्लो है उससे जाहिर होता है कि ये एक फाइट जो है वो लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन पर पहुंचेगी और इसमें लगातार इस तरीके का सक्सेसेस आते रहेंगे और जो भी कोशिश होगा दूसरे साइड से उन्होंने मजबूर हैं अपने कोशिशों से बाज नहीं आने का, पर हम अपनी सिस्टम को, अपना सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर जिसमें जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस, इंडियन आर्मी, एजेंसीज और सेंट्रल आर्म पुलिस फोर्सेस हैं, सब मिलकर और खासकर जैसे मैं बार बार जगह जगह पर कहता हूं कि अवामी सपोर्ट के साथ, लोगों के साथ इस चीज को हम जरूर जीतेंगे और हम ये समझते हैं कि लोगों का पीस में, शांति में और ज्यादातर और लोगों का जान बचाने के लिए इस अफरा तफरी को खत्म करने के लिए मेरे ख्याल में सब लोग इसमें शामिल हो रहे हैं और ये एक और जोर पकड़ रहा है। ऑपरेशंस चालू है, इसीलिए एक जगह में अभी ऑपरेशन कंक्लूजन पे नहीं पहुंचा है, तो जब हो जाएगा तब हम क्लैरिटी के साथ बात कर सकते हैं। कई बार ऐसा होता है कि दो तंजीम आपस में भी कोऑर्डिनेट करके बैठते हैं, तो इसलिए जब हम एक एक करके इसकी वो करेंगे तब इसमें लोकल टेररिस्ट्स का भी होने का खबर मिली है, तो इसकी जब कंक्लूजन पे आ जाएगा तब हम सटीक तौर पे ये कह पाएंगे कि तंजीमों के हिसाब से कि क्या एक ही तंजीम के थे या एक से ज्यादा के थे।
Now to discuss this in detail, I am joined by General Atta Hasnan on today's special broadcast. A very warm welcome to you, General. You know, two encounters in Kulgam and an attack on an army camp in Rajouri. Both incidents have taken place within less than 24 hours. There have been repeated such incidents in the past few weeks, General. What could explain the sudden spike in terror incidents in Jammu and Kashmir? I'd like you to answer that before we begin.
Thank you, Neha. Jai Hind to you and to all our viewers.
Jai Hind, sir.
And let me start by expressing my deep regret for the loss of two very important lives of our soldiers. This is unfortunate, something which keeps happening whenever we are in operations, and the Indian Army, as you are aware, is always leading right in front. But having said that, let me say that this spike which you're seeing with the last approximately a month and a half, and before that about 6 months ago, obviously people on the other side who have been sponsoring this proxy war for the better part of the last 35 years know that this is coming to a culmination. There is a degree of normalcy, not full normalcy, a degree of normalcy which has been achieved, and we are heading towards the last milestone perhaps in this, and that is the conduct of the assembly elections. Before this, the Lok Sabha elections have been held successfully, peacefully. The assembly elections, with a good turnout, peaceful conduct of these elections, and the installation of a civilian government there is going to be a major milestone. No one wants this to happen from the other side. They are looking at it to make sure that their relevance will get completely diluted if such an event happens on our side. So they are looking for opportunities to make sure that they put impediments in the way of conduct of such elections, and there are all kinds of opportunities which are taking place at the moment. You have got the Amarnath Yatra which is taking place. You've got you've got the tourist season which is going on at the moment in Kashmir. You also have various yatras which continue taking place in Jammu all the time. There are lots and lots of mandirs there to which a lot of people in India during the holiday season go to. So this is the time that they were seeking. There's obviously the Riyasi encounter happened with that in mind. Now what's happened in Kulgam, and thankfully 8 terrorists have been eliminated there, is obviously they were in a wait and watch kind of a mode, waiting to concentrate the necessary forces, planning and strategizing to strike the Yatra at some time or the other. I am sure, I'm very confident after hearing the DGP, Mr. Swine, knowing the formations there, 15 corps, 16 corps on both sides, I know they are proactively involved completely, and they will ensure that this attempt by the other side from Pakistan is neutralized completely.
Right. General Hasnan, the situation was normalizing, but it was also expected that a frustrated Pakistan would resort to such tactics. You know, there is a question that perhaps is going on in everyone's mind, and I want to ask you this. Did we become too complacent?
No, Neha, this is not correct. You see, this is a hybrid war. This is a terrorism with the focus of terrorism in a hybrid conflict. This is not a conventional conflict. In hybrid conflicts are very, very dynamic in content and in nature. And you will have a very good day and a very bad day following it. Now, there are occasions when your intelligence suddenly comes down. You find that you are taking all the necessary measures, but the terrorist, the enemy, the adversary on the side is similarly taking measures, right? You push them into the Pir Panjal forest, you push them completely from the valley, from the Jammu side. They are all in the tracks of the Pir Panjal, and there they are strategizing. They are looking for opportunities. And you as a large army, a large set of security forces are normally on the move. We are conducting our normal life. There are convoys moving, there are people going on leave, there are supply convoys which are moving. So opportunities for the terrorists are manifold. And therefore, somewhere or the other, a strike by the terrorists will be successful. This is what I want this to be made very clear to the public in the rest of the country. They must not think that there is any degree of complacency here. Everyone is alert. There is an excellent leadership both on the north of the Pir Panjal and the south of the Pir Panjal. And I've just seen the army chief having visited Nagrota, and he had a meeting there with the corps commander, with all the police officials. I think there was a great messaging that we are together in this. The manner in which DGP Swine also just spoke. All the forces, all the agencies are together as a part and parcel of this operation.
Right. And also the fact, General, that, it's easy to sit in an AC room and pass the judgments. But at this point, I'd also like you to explain the Pir Panjal region and why is it so difficult to stop infiltration in this belt? Essentially, I want to ask you, how difficult is it for our forces to tackle the situation given the geographical terrain?
See, the Pir Panjal, if on the map, if people look at the map, you'll realize is right in the center, dividing out Kashmir in the north and the Jammu region in the south. Now, all the infiltration which takes place into Kashmir takes place from the northern gullies, from the area of Gurez, Uri, places like Tangdhar, etc. We have a very strong grid there that has been virtually made impossible to actually infiltrate from there. However, in the south, where we have not had terrorist activity for fairly long, almost since 2009, 2010, the grid is not as strong. This is a natural phenomenon which happens where there is greater terrorist presence. Obviously, the grid will be stronger there. Now, here, with the grid was strong, it was diluted over a period of time because, for one, some of our formations which came from northeast India had to go back. Secondly, we suddenly had a problem in 2020 in Ladakh with the Chinese, and therefore some forces from here had to go up on top to get redeployed. Some voids came out here. The Pir Panjal emerged as an area where terrorists could therefore carry out their strongholds. They could establish their hideouts and operate from there. This happened similarly in 2003, 21 years ago, in a place called Hilkaka, if you remember, and lots of operations were launched at that particular time to disturb them and to make sure that they are neutralized. This is exactly what is happening now. We are fully aware that they are holed out in the Pir Panjal, which is a 150-kilometer tract. In fact, more than 150 kilometers. And if jungle terrain, broken rocky outcrops all over, very difficult to find a set of 20-25 terrorists who are operating in groups of 6 to 10 almost in these hideouts there. It's like finding the proverbial pin in a haystack.
Absolutely. And General, at this stage, I'll also like to ask you, you mentioned elections, the Jammu and Kashmir, the crucial Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections. Now, despite these attacks, the government is moving ahead with the plans to conduct elections. Should we expect more such attacks in an attempt to vitiate the polls?
My worry, Neha, at the moment is the Yatra. I have a personal equation with the Amarnath Yatra. I have conducted 8 of these Yatras myself. And I would always want to see every single Yatri who comes here with such great reverence. I want to see him going up to the holy cave, carrying out a Matha Teko there and be able to go back safely home. But not on the other side. The people sitting on the other side would like to target these various people, the very pilgrims who are going up to the Yatra, because targeting them targets the heart of India. It tells India that, see, you have still not got Jammu and Kashmir under control. So that is what worries me, number one. But I'm still confident that we have had a lot of experience in this. The army, the CRPF, the Jammu and Kashmir police and the agencies put together will ensure that the Yatra remains safe with additional deployment, etc. I hope that the same deployment will carry on for the conduct of the assembly elections if they take place in September, October, whenever it happens. But I am very confident that we will be able to conduct these elections and safely at that.
Right. General, clearly there is a need to have more boots on the ground. But this could also prove counterproductive politically, isn't it?
See, Neha, boots on the ground will always be short. Any military commander, if you ask him, he will always say, I need more boots on ground. When I was the corps commander in Kashmir, I was always scribbling to the army chief and everyone to say, I need more manpower. But manpower is not always available. Boots on ground are not always available because there are lots and lots of constraints regarding deployment. You know, there is the whole peace field profile of the army units. You can't have the army deployed in field forever. Then you need some rest and recuperation, etc. So what happens is that there is a optimization and you do an assessment and say, this is my optimum number which I require. I can't do without this. And most responsible commanders will always come to the right figure and not unnecessarily beg for higher than that figure. So I think today the troops, they have made good the voyage that they had in the south of Pir Panjal. In the north of the Pir Panjal, there are enough troops in Kashmir region itself. So to that extent, a little bit of redeployment here and there, north, south of the Pir Panjal, and I'm sure we have a very optimum grid all ready to counter all those activities if the elections take place in the near future.
Right. General, do you see these incidents as security setbacks or, as challenges on the road to bringing normalcy in the state? I ask this because while Pakistan would make every move to vitiate the electoral process up ahead, the government must keep pushing for the democratic system to take root, isn't it?
Very good question. Thank you, Neha. That's absolutely right. 1996, 7 years after this whole business began in 1989, in 7 years' time, we went to the polls immediately. And I dare say we had 7% turnout, 5% turnout, but the government of India of the day ensured that we had the elections. That became a very important milestone because thereafter, as we went along in every election, we had a better turnout which was coming around. So that's exactly the thing out here we are looking at. I think with the abrogation of Article 370, the strategy has been to normalize as much as possible, bring in economic development, carry out social outreach, which has been happening in a very big way. The culmination everyone is looking for is the restoration of statehood, which hopefully will happen after the elections, and the creation or the election of a democratically elected government. Let's see how quickly can this happen. I only hope that there are no, from now onwards till the potential date, there are no major setbacks. I don't call them setbacks as it is. These are security constraints which keep happening in an environment like this. As I told you, the other side who's targeting you is also not sitting with kid gloves. They are also preparing. They are also strategizing. It's a question of who does it better. I think we are doing it far better than them.
General, also, what role can the locals play while the security forces combat terrorism? We understand village defense committees have been mobilized and security operations have been tightened.
Village defense committees are a domain which is south of Pir Panjal. This is not something which has happened in the north of the Pir Panjal. There is enough deployment of the army there. South, we had some voids here and there, and the terrain in the south was very difficult, very mountainous terrain in some areas. Everywhere we couldn't have troops. So the village defense committees were set up, each village trained with trained manpower with some ex-servicemen, etc. And that they were force multipliers unto themselves. But you are right, the people's domain is a very important aspect of counter-terror operations. The people ultimately have to support you. And this is exactly what the Indian army, the Indian security forces are very adept at. While they conduct elections, while they conduct operations, they make sure that the collateral is minimized because there's always a collateral along with operations. Even these operations which have been conducted in Frisal today, you will find that there would have been a collateral here and there. Someone may have got injured, I hope not. Someone may have got injured, someone's house may have got damaged. This invariably happens. We do it absolutely conscious of this fact that there are our own citizens, our own people. And therefore, the people's domain is always uppermost in our minds. At the same time, remember, it's from the people that you get the intelligence. Human intelligence, you may have any amount of technical intelligence. It's been proven in the Israeli war also in Gaza that unless you have human intelligence, you are not going to succeed. I think this has been a strong point with us. Our Operation Sadbhavna, which is an hearts and minds campaign to reach out to the people, ensures that we can at least hope to get the support of a majority of the local people who are on our side and are therefore willing to come and part with information.
Right. General, continue to stay with us. In fact, at this stage, we have to step out a quick break, but we'll be right back with lots more on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
The confidence is certainly back in the market.
Do tighten your seat belt so that you can withstand volatility.
I have one humble request to all the viewers of News9 is that please don't go, there will be a lot of choppiness, there will be a lot of volatility. Look at long term, don't look at short term. Buy quality, don't buy quantity, and wish you all the very best.
हमारा टाइम आ गया है और रहेगा.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
There are beautiful golf courses, there are well-played golf courses, there are great greens. But I think we are a combination of everything.
Now, because of the nature-friendly atmosphere here, plenty of water, you can hear the birds. So lots and lots of birds live on this golf course.
Every corner you have a different vista. You have the beautiful Sayadri range behind you, and it's just endless. It keeps going on and on and on and on. So I think no matter what floor you are, you're always slapped in the face by this most amazing view that takes your breath away for a second.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Who am I?
Nobody can crack that mystery.
There is a certain expectation of me.
That's the only contradiction.
Life itself is stranger than fiction.
I was a perfectly normal person born in an abnormal world.
I really didn't understand why is it different.
Just imagine a child who is bullied every day.
Boys school में कुछ लड़का लोग मेरे साथ sexual abuse किए.
मुझे तेरे बारे में सब पता है और मैं तेरा रेप कर लूँगा.
You also start to stigmatize.
अरे ये तो time pass है.
Sex doesn't come in the picture. Sex comes later. Then they are a man-made narrative.
Why do you walk like that? Why do you sway so much? So you can understand the trauma of a person who's trapped in a wrong body.
But nothing can bind life.
We have to reclaim the lost position. We fought for more than 10 years.
Today I'm the mother of the industry.
I'm a first transgender member judge.
You can't walk in everybody's shoes.
This is what I'm comfortable with. They just are what they are.
You become the light yourself.
That is the change that I was looking for.
When I recognize myself is a small story, but it's an interesting one.
Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion on the terror spike in Jammu and Kashmir. A soldier was injured during an exchange of fire with terrorists near an army camp in Manjakot area of Rajouri district in Jammu and Kashmir. And according to sources, there one army personnel was injured while terrorists opened fire on a security post in Rajouri district of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the early morning attack comes a day after two terrorist strikes claimed the lives of two jawans in Kulgam districts. In this particular operation, total of 8 terrorists have been eliminated. Unfortunately, 2 soldiers have died in 2 encounters in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. We are continuing our discussion with General Ata Hasnan. General, coming back to you, now that it is established that this will be the strategy of the Indian Army, perhaps by the terrorists, that they understand that this is how the Indian Army is going to operate. Do you anticipate any change in the strategies of the Pakistani sponsored terrorists?
Good question, I must say. The fact remains that, as I said earlier in the program, this is a hybrid conflict. No strategy, no tactics is ever static. You will always find a dynamism in the grid. You will always find dynamism in the conduct. You can see that in the earlier years, we hardly ever had any major ambushes as such. Subsequently, ambushes started. Subsequently, stone throwing started. Targeting of smaller groups such as policemen on leave, army soldiers on leave, etc. That became a norm. So this is something which is very dynamic in nature. At the moment, if this Pakistani side, if the terrorists, the sponsors realize that it is difficult for them to function as large bodies to try and conduct major operations, large-scale operations, they will resort to what they were doing 2 to 3 years ago. That is, strike against migrant labor, strike against Kashmiri Pandits or minorities somewhere, strike against an army soldier on leave or an officer on leave, as it happened in 2016 and 17. They have to stay relevant, which means every day there must be something in the Indian media to say that something has happened in Jammu and Kashmir, something abnormal has happened in Jammu and Kashmir. That is the way the relevance of Pakistan and the relevance of the terrorist cadres will continue to remain. And this is what you can expect here. At the moment, you can see 8 terrorists have been killed. Why 8 terrorists? We have not seen 8 terrorists being killed for a fairly long time. There's a reason for it. The reason is the hideouts have become very scarce in the valley. There are more terrorists concentrated, grouped together, staying in hideouts. Our intelligence is better. The locals are coming forward to give us information. Obviously, if you have information of the concentration of terrorists in a village, you're going to conduct a coordinated search, and that's exactly what happened here. So this is always a give and take. It's something which the other side will try. We will counter it with a different strategy, a different take, all of a sudden. And I dare say, mostly it is we who succeed. Initially, we may lose out something like has happened 2 months ago, where in a series of incidents, we were seen to be losing. We were losing soldiers, almost 15, 20 soldiers we lost without killing a terrorist. But today you see, we have killed 8 terrorists, we've killed 3 terrorists in Doda, we have just injured some more terrorists somewhere else in some other area. So this is a thing which is very, very dynamic in nature, and people must understand it.
Right. General, finally, this is a personal question. Can we expect normalcy to return to Jammu and Kashmir anytime soon?
See, Neha, normalcy is a very loaded term. It's a question of comparison, a comparative analysis. To say that there is no violence in Kashmir and therefore it is normal would be completely incorrect. At the same time, you are seeing at the moment there is violence, which is taking place every fortnight or so. So therefore, again, we are not saying the normalcy is there. Normalcy will be when you can do your daily, conduct your daily life, everything normal, without the presence of, overt presence of the army, the police and the CRPF on the roads everywhere. Secondly, when the networks which enable all this activity by the terrorists and the separatists, when these networks like the finance networks, the drug networks, the overground worker networks, the media networks, when these are neutralized completely, you can expect normalcy to come, right? Like in any other part of the country. And I dare say we are heading towards it. We have not perhaps reached it yet. But the whole attempt by our adversaries will be to try and pull us back from the stage that we have reached every time. And therefore, our attempt should be to make sure that we push through that stage and reach the next stage, which can be defined as more normal than the past. That is how you will ultimately achieve normalcy.
Thank you so much, General, for joining us with all of those important insights. It was, may I say, it was an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We slip in a quick break now. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay with us.
how do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface, but not the living people?
...2024 sees India's hottest May in 36 years.
Heat waves are becoming stronger.
Heat wave kills at least 56 in India. Nearly 25,000 fall ill.
Working in the heat is impossible to survive that heat for a long time.
Indian cities aren't even cooling at night.
People who are not even getting 5 sips of water now.
It's so hot that even ACs are exploding.
This is a health emergency.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Why is it always the chairman? Why not a chairperson? Why do I have to be qualified as a woman director?
Am I here only because I check a box? Or will they really believe I'm qualified to sit on their board? Will I be an outsider? Or will they accept me for my worth?
My talent doesn't ask my gender. My talent depicts my worth. It was just very difficult to be taken credibly being a woman.
If I knew today what I knew back then when I was starting a family, that it would be this tough, I would have thought very deeply about having children.
50% of the population is women, but you have to struggle to put one woman on the board?
Hi, I'm Lakshna and I'm a reporter producer.
Hi, I'm Shweta. I'm a business journalist and a news anchor.
And we're really here today to talk about something that for me, and I think also for Shweta, is something that's a very, very powerful, emotive issue. You know, and you're somebody who's a business journalist. We are both women who work, and the story is on women in the boardroom, really. So, I mean, I wanted to ask you, because when I set out on this story, and I talked to, you know, the people that I was interviewing, the women, and it seemed like, you know, in 2024, there is still this glass ceiling, this unyielding glass ceiling that refuses to shatter.
Absolutely, Lakshna. Glass ceiling everywhere. And all I see is glass ceiling for that matter. Hardly any women representation. And since you talked about boardroom, it's also important to mention that women in boardrooms today is about 18% as of 2023. It has in fact come up from 13%. But it's still not very close to being equitable.
The starting point was the fact that it was an all boys club. You know, the male bastion that is still taking time to break through.
It was not only in India. I think it was all over the world. Boardrooms were old boys club.
Just not an all-male club alone, but an all-male club where everyone knew everyone else.